Oh no, there's a volcano.
Hello, me and Jack are here to explain to you about our kingdom of the new Khan.
Okay, so New Con originally was three countries: New Javal, Great Seventh, and Orleans. Now, this now island, was connected to Japan, but a huge volcano formed and it separated us away. So the three countries that did exist were now formed because these countries financially were not stable. So New Javal, Great Seventh, and Orleans all formed New Con because now all three countries form a stable environment for all and a stable economy.
This is New Khan by Jack and Will. We are located right by Japan, on the right side of Japan, and a volcano split this country apart, pretty much. It drifted away.
Okay, so on your left, this is the original map of the countries when it was connected to Japan. But since the volcano formed in 1879, the countries were cut off from Japan. So, and these were the original boundaries. But on your right, once New Con was formed, these were the new boundaries they had set up. Javal, West Jeff, Tivit, Lab, Fox, Thousand Blossoms, Sakura, Willow, Hysteria, Missy, Hisato, and Itsuki.
The national symbols of Khan are cherry blossoms, which is this tree. This is the cherry blossom tree. The flying fox bat, it is real. This is the flying fox bat. The mango, right here. And a pink glasswing, this is also real.
It's very exotic, and since they only go to things that are natural or close to their color, they usually flock to the cherry blossoms.
And the McLeopold gates, which is 100% real.
So we put these gates up where the original boundaries were. So it would represent unity among all three countries of the original New Javal, Great Seventh, and Orleans. The demographics. So our population is 40 million, but there will be a 20 million decrease in the population because of immigration due to the discrimination of the LGBTQ community. Now, minorities and the majorities, we have Caucasians 32.5, African American 32.5, Japanese 30%, and German 5%. Now, it might look strange, but the German 5% are here because New Con has adopted the educational system that Germany has in place right now. So the 5% Germans are here to help us make and get our educational system to where their educational system is. In our urban centers, just like the map we just showed.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is a graph of the minorities and the majorities, where they are now, 2017, and the future trends in 2030 and 2060.
Our immigration, we have about 10 immigrants per 1,000 people.
Most of the migrants are Germans. The German population will increase, like we stated earlier, due to Germany's school system, and we'll probably have others, but mainly Germans. Now, main languages are English, Japanese, and German. Um, English, it's learned throughout all of New Con, even though the native language before that was Japanese. But you also have obviously German with that 5%. But English is mostly spoken by all, so we could say some citizens are bilingual or trilingual if they learn German. And for religion, Baptist, atheist, Catholic. The Baptist holds the majority, but only by 4%. But we usually have a secular mindset.
Age and our gender distribution. Uh, we have 22 million women, about 18,000 men, and 18,000 18 million men. I'm sorry, Mr. Vet. 18 million men, and about 27 to 70 age is their working age.
Yeah. So 70 is so long because our cherry blossoms, what we're a later state, has medical benefits, which allows our workers to look younger, but and their bodies to stay in a younger state also, so they can work longer and more efficient. Okay, so our education, as we stated, they adopted Germany's educational system. 85% of NUCON are educated because originally, most of originally the country, those three countries were majority Japanese, but those Japanese, they left. The older generation left, so some of the younger generation that stayed adopted their traditions of their ancestors, and they decided to work with agriculture and also the cherry blossoms. So they don't have much of an education, but 15% increase in the future. Well, no, 80 uh, 15% stayed in the agricultural field, but increase is there. An increase, well, a 5% increase of those who are educated because of the new generation, but the other 10% will stay in the agricultural field. And those are occupations: agriculture 35%, teachers 22.5, medicine 22.5, and car industry 5%. Car industry we're not too big on, but it does bring in some of our GDP because we're mainly about the environment. So less cars, the better.
Population in prison, about 10% of the total population is in prison. So most of those who have tried to sell Newcon cherry blossoms on the black market, that's part of why they're in prison. You can't, it's a state, it's a country tree,
Right. It's actually
tree.
in our constitution.
Yeah.
So, and they could face federal charges, 10 to 20 years.
The charge, it's a federal charge. You could, 20 to 10 to 20 years in prison. Their birth and death rate and life expectancy. Birth is about 11.4 births per 1,000 people. Deaths, 7.4 deaths per 1,000 people. So we have a rising population. The birth rate is more than the death. And their life expectancies is 89 years old for men and 91 years old for women.
Okay. So our political and governmental system, we have 12 states. Our Constitution's purpose to promote the unity of NUCON and the people of NUCON, and mainly to specify the history of NUCON's existence. For 75 years, the present day NUCON was separated into 3 different countries, and so in 1954, they all finally became one country because the younger generation of Javal, grade 7th, and Orleans realized that 3 countries together would be financially stable, and de jure, everyone was created equal. But de facto, which we will state later on, is not true. Now, references, obviously, we go back to the Great Unity. That's February 29th, 1954. I know in our earlier slides it said 1854. That was a typo. It is 1954. And those references are to Javal, grade 7th, and Orleans, and also to the MacLeopold gates. References back to the gates, put where the old boundaries were to represent unity.
The official name of NUCON is the Kingdom of NUCON. We have no official religion and no official language because, as we said earlier, we have Japanese, German, and English. For citizenship, we have for those who are coming in, have to take a history test of the Great Khan so they know what has happened in the past and what not to do.
Yes. So the rights and laws, um, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, right to bear arms, any person subject to murder to be in prison. All individuals are created equal. Anyone who wants to bring a pet on a plane, train, or any other transportation must pay another ticket for them. Freedom of expression, businesses must be graded on the health aspect and make sure it's a good place for the workers. And no one can own any of Great Khan's cherry blossoms tree, and businesses can't own more than 25 acres of land. This is to make sure that no one business is getting rid of the cherry blossoms that have been there, that's already been planted into New Khan's territory. And the citizens must take 5% of their paycheck and put it into a savings account of some kind. That could be savings bonds, that could be an account. They're just putting 5% aside.
Level of sovereignty, minorities, majorities, they're treated exactly the same. There's no tyranny over minorities or anybody else. People have the power, the majority votes by the population, and there's no electoral process. That way, the people get to make the decision and not the government. We have a democracy, de jure and de facto rights are within the people.
The geographic distribution of sovereignty. So we have a federal system. We have a president and two vice presidents. Our president, Chio Mizaki, head of government and commander in chief. We have two vice presidents. Now, one president is appointed. One vice president is appointed by the president, and that is Chad Burnswick. He is head of the legislative branch. He is appointed by the president, and he is also head of state. Now we have the other, Dante Ma. He is elected by the people, and he is a watchdog, and he's over the judiciary branch to make sure that the president and or vice president are staying within their lanes of the Constitution. So anything that is done unconstitutional, Dante Ma will immediately alert them, and the consequences will come from him. Now, Minister of Blossoms, he is appointed by the president. William McElvin, he is over and governs over all of the cherry blossoms in New Khan, and his job is also to make sure our ozone index stays high in order to protect and have a grand cherry blossoms.
For the branches of government and separations of power, we have three branches of government: judicial, executive, and legislative. Legislative is over the executive branch, so legislative has veto power over the president, and the judiciary has power over legislative to make sure that anything they're doing is like constitutional.
And also to make sure it abides by the people.
Yes. New Khan has a high court named Haagen-Dazs. It is separate but co-equal. It has power. It also has the power to call a law unconstitutional, as we just said. It's led by the vice president, chosen by the people, and acts as a watchdog for the people. Dante Ma.
Okay, so the political parties. We have a multi-party system. We have the Democratic Party, that's the Liberal Party. The Midori Party, that's the Green Party. They're mainly about the environment. And we have the Unity Party, that's the LGBTQ community wanting more equal rights for all and representation. Now the Hoshu Tiki Party, that's the Conservative Party, and the Catholic Party. heavily religious group with focuses on restricting the rights of those who are of the LGBTQ community. Now, our main governmental leaders, Chio Mizaki, President, Commander-in-Chief, and over Executive Branch. Vice President Chad Burswick, Vice President, Head of State, Legislative Branch. Dante Ma, Vice President, Watchdog, Judiciary Branch. William McElvin, Minister of Blossoms, Ozone, and he's over ozone levels, I would say, to make sure cherry blossoms stay healthy. And Williams' hard work puts NewCon as ranking 1 in the ozone index.
Our economic system, we have a progressive tax system. So the welfare will be put into taxes, and those who are 85 years old and up can't receive it anymore.
That's why we have the take 5% of your debt of your weekly, monthly, however your paycheck comes, 5% of that, and put it to the side. So if you live to 85 or older, that money will be used to provide for yourself for the rest of.
Yeah. And you also have family members like sons and daughters that can also put up money too for you. The workplace must be safe and clean and given a grade that's in a constitution. Anyone who is a legal citizen can create a business. We welcome monopolies. Business can't own more than 25 acres because we got to keep our cherry blossom trees in order, and we don't want them to be ruined. Most of NewCon's GDP is off the exports of cherry blossoms.
And our cherry blossoms could be used for tea or regular flowers. And as we stated, they also have medical benefits also.
Yes.
So they're used in medicine. Our socio-economic issue. So they generally all forms of marriage and all types of people are accepted. They factor not all forms of marriage and all types of people are welcome. The discrimination of those in the LGBT community by all of the Catholic religion and some of the Baptist religion, the LGBT community has started to riot and causing some to leave. Now, some leaving has caused a 10% decrease in our GDP because within that community, they are taxpayers and they spend heavenly. So, and also too, most of that community is also in the cherry blossom trade industry. So them leaving kind of weakens our force, and it also weakens the relationship we have with other countries that those in that community have built. So now we have to rebuild and regain the trust of other countries. And tensions are running high between the religious groups and the LGBTQ community, which might lead to fighting within NewCon. And the NewCon itself hasn't focusing too much on it, mainly focused on the distribution of the cherry blossoms and the wealth that the city, that the country gains from it, and the LGBT community, TQ community, has been put to the back of the issues of NewCon.
And we also see a lot of people at NewCon in the mornings. They take bike rides and they swim in the morning also to get their day started. So we also encourage a healthy habit, such as that.